Hey everyone, welcome to Be the Connection, where we share stories about community mentorship and success. And today I've got a special guest, Monique. I'm super grateful to have her on here and just get to know her, share her background, and share with the world what do you have going on. I know you've got it quite a bit, so tell me about it, please.
Yeah. So I will start with my non-real estate and then we'll move to real estate. So I have a software company that's in the medical space. It's a EHR system. You get, your patient notes from your physician. That's the software that I own, and I work primarily with independent practice. I also have a raw dog food company and I own real estate. So
Yes, that's right.
yeah,
I love it. I love it. So do you have any pets?
I do.
How
Yeah, I
many?
have two dogs.
Two dogs? Goodness. What breeds
I have a black lab pit mix, and I also have a Bernedoodle.
my daughter's been asking for one for quite some time, and we're kind of waiting until she's older, just carry a little bit more of that responsibility. So tell me, before real estate, what was it that you were doing that eventually just got you into it?
Yeah, so I actually have a software company, and at the time, my software company was doing around 40,000 a month, and that was not profitable, by the way. It was doing 40,000 a month. I had a lot of overhead, and I was talking to one of my friends who owned a cybersecurity company, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm buying real estate." And I said, "Okay, cool. Why are you doing that?" And he said, "Well, it's gonna offset my income because I'm able to, pull depreciation from it." So I was like, "Okay, cool." So I was at a conference and I came back from the conference. The last conversation I had before leaving the conference, we were walking across a street and I saw a man and he stopped me. He's like, "Hey, I just want to let you know your energy is really infectious." Me and my wife used to do this thing where we would write on a dollar bill, "Have a good day." And we would give it to someone that we felt called to give it to every day. And she's since passed, and I still carry this tradition. So I was tearing up, and he was tearing up. And I said, "Thank you so much for thinking of me. I really appreciate this." And I actually still have that. It's framed a little bit out of frame here. So I just went on with my day and I was like, "This is going to be an amazing day." And after that, I got on my plane after, hearing like, "Okay, great. I need to get into real estate in some way. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it." And I was on the plane. I was all the way at the back of the plane in the middle seat. And I was talking to this guy about how I'm going to be a millionaire in real estate and how I'm going to buy all this real estate. He was on the outside aisle and the bathroom door kept clinking back and forth. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this." And then it would be like, "Creak, creak." And he said, "Okay, awesome. So you're gonna be a millionaire in real estate. I love that." And as he was leaving off the plane, he said, "I just want to give you something really quick." And he wrote an $100,000 check and he gave it to me and he gave me his business card. And he said, "I want you to go buy your first house." And I was like, "Done. I'm gonna go buy my first house. I'm gonna show him like he did not waste his money on me." I was so happy. And I bought my first house in Indianapolis. I bought it for, I think it was 42,000, and I put about 30,000 into it, pulled all my money out. I did the Burr method
Hmm.
and I refinanced. I put a renter in it. That property I still have in my portfolio. I don't think I'll get rid of it. It's my first property I love. And it nets me about $1,000 a month after the mortgage. So I did this refi. I was so impressed. I was able to, I think I paid myself 30 or 40 grand tax free, and then I paid the rest back to the investor.
Hmm.
And I called him. I was all excited. I said, "Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to wire you this back." And he said, "You're going to pay me back?" He was surprised. And I said, "Yes, of course I'm going to pay you back. What the heck?" And he said, "Don't wire it to me. I'm going to fly you out to Moab, which is where he lived and worked, and you can just give it to me in person. I'll show you around." I said, "Okay, great." So I fly there and I give him this check. I'm super happy. And he's like, "Do you see this building, this building, this building, this building?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I own them all."
Wow.
So fast forward, he was my investor on all the BRRRRs that I did after that. He's still as an investor of mine. He's a good friend of mine now. And he actually told me all these years later, he said, I never thought you were going to pay me back. I didn't think you were going to show me that you were actually serious about real estate. And that's how I did my first deal. And that's actually how I got started. And then I just 10x'd it from there.
Wow. And this is all just from meeting them.
Yeah. Same day I met this guy. Like crazy. What a crazy, yeah.
Wow. Was there anything that you feel like before that you were just kind of in a spot where you're like, what am I doing? I kind of feel like sometimes before something big happens, we tend to be in this space where we're like, we kind of question ourselves a bit, right? As what we're doing, or is this the right road that we're doing? And then should I be taking this next step or this next leap of faith, right? And then this just confirmed it for you.
Yeah, so I think I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always tried things, started them, failed again and again. I don't think for me, I was worried about doing it, but then when I had someone else's money, it brought a sense of focus and clarity where I was very afraid to go out and purchase my first property because of that. And then, of course, I failed some more. And that for me was really it. I didn't have any hesitancy, thinking I couldn't do it or anything like that. It was more so now this I'm a steward of someone else's money. I need to do this. It has to be a very, very, very good deal.
Yes. It's like there's no other options. Like this is it. So like I'm doing it regardless. Yes, man. Wow, that's huge. That's so impactful. I'm shocked. That's amazing. Wow. So this can happen. It's not just that you're a specific person or because you were with a certain crew. Like this just happened because of the energy that you brought, right? You attracted that energy and you knew, okay, what it is that you wanted to do. And just sharing that story with other people, it's like, hey, I can do it. I'll help you get there. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
Yes. And so right now, is your main focus working on, are you still working on the burst strategy currently, or what is your main focus within the real estate game?
Yeah, so I do two types of purchases, I'd say. I will still do BRRRRs. I think anytime there's tax-free money involved, I'm there. If you can find me there, I'll be there. I still love the BRRRR strategy if and when I can employ it. Otherwise, I purchase creatively. I've been purchasing creatively. I'll do sub two, seller finance deals. I've done seller carry deals. You name it, I've done it. Um,
Wow. Have you dived into like the lending side as well?
I have
Yeah.
just I just dove into the lending side this past year and I've learned a lot.
Yeah. What are some of the key points that you've learned so far?
Well, considering right now I am at an $140,000 loss, I would say the boring deals are the best deals. Always make sure that you're secured. Never, ever, ever do a deal where you're not secured because even if you know the person and you trust them and you think that this can't happen to you, it's Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
So whatever you think won't happen will. And honestly, just, doing your due diligence,
Mhm.
whether that's a partnership, whether that's working with someone who brings you the deal, which is where I messed up. I trusted that person. You need to make sure that you completely understand and vet the deal, the borrower, the partners, any partner that's included that's getting paid in it. You need to just cross your I's and dot your T's and then do it 3 more times to make sure that you're safe.
Yes. Oh man. I think I've heard that quite a bit this week and weekend where it's consistently vetting, right? No matter who it is in the deal, whoever is in the deal, you need to vet them. And also, that's why people, you have a TC2 on your team, making sure documents are ready,
Uh-huh.
in order. So, man, I've heard that a lot this week where it's vetting your borrowers, right? And making sure that, and they pay you back. Have they done
Yeah.
this type of transaction before? And just making sure that they pay on time too.
Mhm.
So, what challenges did you face? Have you faced outside? So, before lending, what other challenges have you faced? Especially now that you've kind of gotten your heels in with Burr and creative. What are some of those challenges that you kind of face?
Yeah, I think the main challenge I faced is losing deals and not being as prepared as I honestly probably should have been. And for me, one of my friends called me and said, "How do you not have such an emotional attachment at this point when a deal goes south or sour?"
Mm,
Because I close volume deals. So I'm aware of what that process looks like. And I said, you just have to kind of disconnect from the outcome. My goal is to own, 25,000 doors. So one doorknob isn't going to change that.
yes.
I think that those were some of the challenges that I faced just because every deal, especially when I was first starting and I was kind of transitioning from the Burr to creative. I started creative right when COVID hit because everything just jumped up in price. Um, and I was so emotionally invested in the outcome that I owned the property.
Hmm.
Didn't matter what I had to do to get that, I owned the property, and when I didn't, I was so hard on myself, and I was so upset, and I didn't know how to regulate that emotion, honestly,
Yeah,
and I think that that was my biggest challenge, detaching from the outcome and understanding it's an ebb and flow. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. Either way, at the end of the day, you're gonna come out okay.
yes, absolutely. And what helped you guide you to make that realization?
I noticed, 1, I was getting white hair. And then I noticed how is no one around me stressed about this situation? My title company isn't stressed. My TC isn't stressed. My agents aren't stressed. Why am I the only one that's stressed and putting so much pressure on being perfect throughout this transaction? And I always asked, why does this not bother you? Why does it not bother you that timelines aren't met? Why does it not bother you, when things go past the 30-day mark when you're supposed to close a deal? How are you just okay with all these delays? And everyone just would say, well, it's the nature of the business. It's going to happen. I can't I can't worry about it twice because then I'm just wasting my energy, and that's something that just stuck with me, and I knew at that time I wanted to be more zen and more go with the flow. Whatever happens, happens. I didn't know how to get there.
That's beautiful. What would so the person who gave you this check, right? Was there any other
Yeah.
advice that he gave you when he gave you this or when he, told you about what it is that he did, like, or that you were doing? Was there any other advice that he gave you that you would be able to share with others that are on this journey and, listening out there?
Yeah. I think one thing that really stuck with me, so it just happened, which I'm actually a delusional optimist. I only think that the best things are going to come to me. It is what it is. That's why nothing bad ever happens. For me, nothing bad can happen when I'm thinking this way. So I realized that there was something that I was missing with the way that wealthy people, because at the time I wasn't wealthy, what wealthy people did differently. And I would always ask, what what things can I do? What can I bring to the table to surround myself with better people? That was one thing that I really, really was striving for. And B, how do I escape this, for lack of better terms, rat race that I feel like a lot of people who still have a 9 to 5 are in? And I got two really good pieces of advice. The first was ownership is always better than working for someone else. And I think that's always resonated with me. I just didn't know how to fully put into words what that all meant and what that meant to me in particular. And for me, as I was building my software company, that was very, very active income for me, which there's nothing wrong with active income, but it was 16 to 20-hour days trying to figure out this software. And I wanted to kind of step away from that. Um, Another thing that he said is everything comes in due time, and you can't compare. I can't compare my step 1 to his step 3,000. That just We're on different timelines, and that's okay. So for me, actually, I think that that was the one thing that stuck out the most to me is everyone is on a different timeline, and seeing and relating to someone and wanting what they have, but not understanding all of the failures that took them to get to that point. I just haven't failed enough yet. So that's one thing that I take with me and I continue on with. If I need to get somewhere and I'm not there yet, I haven't failed enough. And after I fail enough, I'll get there.
There you go. Yeah. And failure isn't a bad thing. I think that in
No.
society, we've been taught and programmed that it's something that you need to fear, that if you fail, like you're done. Right. But in the world of success and entrepreneurship and growth, like that's one of the steps that you have to go through. And for me, I can tell you, like, yeah, I still work on that daily, right? Because it's like, no, you got to do this and do this way, right? But at the same time, it's like, no, there's a process, that process, man, that process. And it's getting over that idea of thinking that you don't need it because it's a huge, crucial step for everyone, not just those who it just comes naturally, right? It's for everyone that they have to go through that. That's such a huge thing that I really, really, really love you bringing up because, yeah, I mean, that's something that people forget. People
Yep.
don't realize that, hey, to get to this place, you have to do all these things. They're going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be some tears. And I've kind of said this too, where, hey, in order for us to grow, we have to be watered, right? And when we're watered, it sometimes means we cry a little bit. So, but we'll get there, right? We'll get that sunshine and we'll feel that air and we'll bloom and blossom. Man,
Yeah. I
goodness,
agree with that.
some good stuff.
I really think that the doing, right, is the journey. It's not getting there. It's not getting the car or quitting your job or whatever other item you have on your list as a to do. I've made it at that point. It's the doing that we do to get there. That's where the growth is. That's where the challenge is. That's where the failure is. And that's where you are consistently throughout your life. It doesn't matter, right? So my investor's step 3,000, well, he has a 3,001 step. He's not done, and he's going to continue doing throughout that process. And that's the thing that I think is so beautiful about failure and obstacles and challenge is you're consistently working on all these other skills in order for you to continue to grow in whatever direction you want.
Yes, man, that's huge. That's deep. That's it's the steps that's that's what success. Those steps are success, not the end goal,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So, man, that's like hitting real hard for me. So, thank you for bringing all of this up. Oh, man. And so, I mean, you talked about the struggles and how you overcame those struggles and the purpose of those struggles, right? So, how did it change you as an investor and as a person? You see the purpose and the steps now that you need to take. What does it do for you as a person, when you see and now you do business with others? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. I think a few things. So first, I was thinking way too small when I was working for someone else, which I did, have a 9 to 5. I did have a job that I commuted to and traded my time for money every day. I was thinking way too small when I got into real estate and I thought, oh, 20 houses would be amazing, which those are all great goals. But I think it's the framework and the mindset that I really learned throughout this process that has been monumental in the way that I think about really everyday life.
Yeah.
And now when I'm looking at big goals, they don't scare me as much because I know that I can do great things and I want to have a goal that A, fuels me to wake up every morning and put my best foot forward and do as much as I can for the day and allows me to continue to do good and do well. I think that that's something that I have learned throughout this process that's like front and center for me, especially right now as I'm continuing on this path.
Beautiful path, by the way. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. So, for someone listening who doesn't have, that sense of direction or guidance, what is it, one thing that you would recommend in order for them to find that?
I think in terms of finding your sense of direction or guidance, I do a few things. One, I would brain dump everything that you enjoy on a piece of paper. If that's being super analytical and in the numbers, or, being in a more of an operator role versus a visionary versus an actuarial, all of those things, brain dump and see A, what you're good at, and B, what you really want to do.
Yeah.
So for me, I have a goal of touching a billion people and empowering them through ownership, whether that's business, buying, real estate, or other assets. So for me, I knew that that's something that I wanted. And when I was kind of journaling through this, for lack of better words, I brain dumped all this down on a piece of paper. And I figured, what is the one thing that motivates me, again, to wake up every morning that I really want to do, which for me is working with other people and mentoring, again, for lack of better words, and teaching them that there are so many different ways that they can do these things. And I'm going to bigger goal, be donating $1 million a year to different underserved communities. So the one thing that I think sometimes people fail to when they're talking or when they're thinking or talking about direction is, well, I really, really love working in education, but I know that real estate's a better route. Your real estate can be the active income that gets you to your end goal. They can both work together to be your means to an end, for lack of better terms. I would recommend doing a full brain dump, seeing really where you excel, and then working in conjunction with those skills. So if you love paperwork, find a group of TCs that you can, bolt onto and create impact there. If it's you're a visionary and you want to own all this real estate, connect with people who are already purchasing real estate.
Hmm.
I also would highly recommend shadowing. So if someone doesn't know exactly what they want to do, shadow me for a day. See if you actually like running a team of, over 100 employees, or shadow you for a day. See if they really like filling in all of the paperwork and, all of the additional pieces that go along with that, the due diligence, the title work, all the things I don't even really know that much about.
Yeah. Oh,
Um, those would be the two things that I'd say, and I think that if someone has a big dream and it's not related to real estate, that can still be their dream, and they can use real estate as a vehicle to get there.
yes, absolutely. And I can actually speak for that because I do, TC work. I'm a transaction coordinator for full time. And so eventually we are going to be buying more real estate. And so it's like I'm using this to help get me there. And so that's huge. So it is possible. You can definitely use your W-2 to help you get into real estate. And then once you're doing real estate, you can definitely use that to support you and going and working and doing other things. The relationships that you've built now since then, how have they played a role in everything that you're doing?
I think my relationships since then have been way more intentional. I have really stopped and got to know the people who I'm surrounding myself with and people who I would want to surround myself with more. Relationships play such a pivotal role in life. I want to be around people who are doing 10 times more than me and at the very least think differently than I do. Now, it is amazing when you find one of those people that you just connect with. You have the same vision, same goals, same life, same everything. I would say for me, that's been far and few between. I've met a lot of people who have a lot of different skills and experience that they bring to the table. For me, I feel the intention behind creating relationships has propelled me to a completely different level. So, for example, I now know people who have introduced me to individuals who have funds that, you know, they fund up to $500 million per asset. And this was from one relationship that I created that I was very, very intentional with. And I shared my goals and where I want to go with multifamily assets and what I want to do. And that connection, nothing in return, no questions asked, introduced me to this other person that can help. I would highly, highly, highly recommend creating relationships, continuing to develop those relationships, and be intentional with sharing your goals, dreams, what you see in your future, and asking if people can help you. I think you can create a lot of wealth very, very quickly. It's kind of like a puzzle. I think of relationships like a puzzle. If you can pull each person into the perfect spot where they fit, you can 10x what you would do by yourself. And this was me until very, very recently. I was, okay, great. I'm going to close 50 deals a month and no one's going to know about me. I'm going to purchase all these properties and no one's going to know anything about me. And I recently was, chatting with a girlfriend of mine and she said, I don't know why you're like a silent killer. Like people need to know that you're coming, like they should know about you. And since doing that, I have had 20, 30 conversations with people who can actually help me grow at a much quicker rate
Yeah.
than doing it alone. So I would also implore people who are thinking about creating new relationships or, anything to do with reaching out to someone new, I'd recommend that they do it. You don't know who you're going to meet and who you're going to come across and how that person can help you. And we can go so much farther together. So reach out to people, talk to them, create relationships, learn about them, and you'd be surprised what you can actually do in short periods of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I make it a point to, especially for connections and meeting people, right? Even when you feel like, "Oh, I don't even know if this is going to do anything," it's at that point. I always feel like it's on those specific points where it's like you do the action, it's like boom. Like it propels you so much further than where you hadn't even thought of, right? And so that's kind of what happened to me and how I got, really started into the career I have. And so
Mhm.
in my business. So I love it. Everything you're saying is like spot on. And you guys, she's telling it how it is. I love it. This is so good. So, what is one daily habit or mindset shift that, you've made since starting?
Interesting. I think the biggest mindset shift that I have made since starting is how much I give back and give back to my team. When I first started, I was so focused on money for myself and like, oh yeah, like I want to make $10,000 a month. I want to, I had all these number targets in my mind. And now I am very much the opposite. And I want my team to make all of the money. I want my team to feel very comfortable and I want to be able to reward in that way. So now every day I'm looking for ways I can reward my team in different areas, aspects. Is that us going to Mexico for a few days or meeting in person? Is it me giving additional commission to someone or bringing someone into a deal that wouldn't otherwise have been in a deal? And there have been deals very recently where I've called some of my good friends and said, "Hey, you want to be in this deal?" And I think that that has been something that has also been really, really life-changing for me. I think it's all about people for me now, and that's something that changed since I started. I'm not so focused on me, I'm focused on how I can give back and do good with others.
Oh, I love it. Like being
Yeah.
inclusive. Oh man. Wow. So what is something that, you know, if someone isn't sure of where to start, what would be your recommendation?
I would say reach out to someone who's doing what you think that you wanna do and see what your thoughts are after that process.
Yeah.
I would also say if you're going to reach out to someone that you know is very busy, and has a lot on their plate, to make sure that you bring value in some way. So whether that's providing a deal, whether that's helping with integrating X, Y, and Z topics, create value that you know that they need, figure out what they need, and then go and try to insert yourself for a day or two, a week, if someone will allow that, and shadow and see if that's something that you're interested in, and do that enough times to where you really are crystal clear on your vision and where you're going.
Got it. Man, wow. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. This is so refreshing too to just to get this perspective, and you don't get a lot of these. And so I want to make sure that people know, like, this is an honor. Thank you so much for hopping on, because I think people really do miss out on a lot of steps and shifts that are huge and important to know and to have going in. It can be easy, right? It can be, but we got to make sure that we're prepared the right way to receive that. And of course, there's always going to be learning curves, right? Going into whatever field we do, whether if it's just buying and holding or lending, right?
Yeah.
And so share with everybody, how can they connect with you and learn more about what it is that you're doing?
Absolutely. So everyone can follow me across all platforms. It's at Monique Pasciak,
Mhm.
and you can message me, reach out to me, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I'm around. I'll answer.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate you again. I mean, this has been really, like I said, refreshing for me. It definitely gives me and like really instills in me too. It's like, remember, B, it's the process. It's the process that's the progress, right?
Yeah.
So that's the success, is the process. Oh, man, so good. I love it. Thank you so much again. And thank you, everyone. And we'll see you on the next one.